is quite frankly inexcusable. There's been a lot of time for people to comprehend the things that are happening. This situation with the border policies have been kicked down the road for decades. It hasn't been 10 years. It hasn't been 8 years. It hasn't been 20 years. It's been 30 and 40 years that these issues are getting kicked down the road. My belief is the reason they've been getting kicked down the road, quite frankly, is because of political correctness that's completely and utterly gone awry. And I'll give you some examples. They're outraged about the one child that died in detention, and yet they're not outraged about 300 immigrants per year now that die from dehydration after being used as nothing but human decoys by their illegal drug cartel coyotes that are getting them across the border. They're not outraged by the young women who have to take a morning after pills with them because of the inevitable rape that's going to take place while they take that perilous journey across our border. They're not outraged about the 64,000 Americans, most of them too young to understand the consequences of their action, that are dying of drug overdoses every year now. To put that number into perspective, that's more than the whole 15-year Vietnam conflict. Soldiers fighting a war are dying every single year from what, quite frankly, after Obama allowed Hezbollah to deal drugs in America, some of that I think is weaponized drugs, because they have weak opioids, and then overnight it's 100 times stronger fentanyl, and the kids die of it overnight. And yet the guy that sold it, the Hezbollah terrorist representative, he's out of country before the bait and switch takes place. Who are they clearing the way for? Had Hillary got in, we already know the answer to that, but I'm just throwing that out there. Okay. And then there's $30 billion a year of brand new goods being stolen from ports, trains, and trucks being shipped to South America. $30 billion a year being stolen and shipped to South America. Again, mostly because of these people's insatiable drug habits and what have you. There's hundreds and thousands of crimes committed because of their insatiable drug habits. These crimes are committed upon people, innocent people, for the sole purpose of them trying to acquire a score of the whatever drug of choice they have. The thing you have to think about there is a lot of those crimes are atrocities towards humanity. A lot of those crimes even include murder. So when you talk about one child that died in detention, that quite frankly, statistically, with the amount of people coming across the border, would have happened anyway. It's like it pales in comparison to all of these other facts I'm bringing up. 64,000 kids a year dying of drug overdose, hundreds of thousands of crimes being committed upon the American public because of the open border failed policies. Little kids young girls having to bring morning after pills during their journey. You have 300 immigrants per year now dying. That's more immigrants per year dying at our border right now than Morocco has a 1,700-mile border. If you compare our only 1,700 miles of our border to their border, there's more immigrants dying in our border, and all they have is a berm of dirt and a minefield. 2 parallel fences with razor wire tops and stickman signs every 4 feet so that anybody illiterate could see, if I go out there, I'm going to get blown up, would actually prevent all of this, and it would handle the rough terrain. I don't think Trump's going far enough as far as the wall is concerned. I think this is the solution to the wall. It handles rough terrain. It will take care of all of the situations about border crossings. It could be done cheap and it could be done fast. And they could even put GPS indicators on the top of the fences with solar panels to allow them to know where there's any kind of breach taking place, and so they can go investigate that and find out what that is. In the whole 40 years of the minefield between North and South Korea, nobody's died. In Guantanamo Bay, 40 years of a minefield there. It wasn't always just a detention center in Guantanamo Bay for you kids too young to understand. We actually had American soldiers and families living in Guantanamo Bay for years and years.